Hey there, thank you so much for joining us. I have another client interview with Lucas Silva from Mona Dispatch. He's in the med spa niche, doing this similar sort of thing, lead gen agency. You had the problem before, right, with leads not being phoned fast enough. And so Lucas joined CCM and he's gone through it. And he's, luckily enough, he's been happy to jump on this call and go through his experience. So yeah, Lucas, give us a really quick introduction on you, your agency. Give me a bit of background for everyone watching.
Yeah, for sure. So, um, pretty much like everyone started an agency trying to figure everything out on not only how to generate leads, but get clients good results. And something that I always knew from the very beginning that I needed to add was a speed to lead system or just really a follow-up system, right? Because working even in local businesses myself before I started an agency, I knew with my coworkers and people that I worked with, um, they weren't really good with the phone, right? So
Yeah.
if I knew that in the business that I worked in, I could only imagine throughout the country and throughout the other businesses that they probably deal with the same issue. And they do, right? Follow up is a huge issue. Speed to lead is a huge issue. So always looking to implement that piece into the service, but never really knew how. So I stumbled across one of your ads and I was like, dude, it's probably gonna be so hard. It's probably gonna cost a lot of money. It's probably gonna be so expensive. But all of those presuppositions were wrong, actually. It was very affordable and not hard because not only is the program extremely outlined, but the support is incredible. So,
Love it, man.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much how
Yeah,
I got
no.
started. How I
Yeah. I love that, man. It's awesome. And it's funny you mentioned about like people thinking it's hard and that kind of thing. Because I think there's so much stuff out there about call centers and people there's everyone hears horror stories, right? Because they haven't followed an actual path on how to do it. So some guy tries it, they end up wasting loads and loads of money, don't know how to do it, and they tell all their agency friends, "Oh, don't do call center, you can't do it, it's impossible, it's a nightmare." Because they haven't got the knowledge, they haven't got the experience. But obviously, I've the great thing about this is I went through the same process. Apart from I just kept going, kept going, kept going, and then I was able to figure it all out. And then bam, it saves you a lot of time. Same way with like just agency stuff in general. If you try and
in
start an agency
general.
on your own, like you're always usually gonna. Most people that have successful agencies, they usually join some kind of mastermind in the beginning to show them what to do. I speak to some people. They've been doing it for 4 years and they're still making like £5 a month. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I didn't want to join a mastermind because I thought I could, everything's on YouTube. It's like, well, kind of, but
Yeah, not really.
it's a lot
Yeah.
harder. Like it's a lot harder if you just do it on your own on you. Like it's kind of hard, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what was it like? So you kind of briefly touched on this already, but what was it like before joining call center mastery? What was going wrong with your agency? I'd even ask like what are some of the worst moments you had like regarding not following a lead, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of the worst moments were, obviously getting on these client check-in calls and, they're saying, yeah, okay, great, we're getting leads, but these people aren't converting, right? It was like a constant story that everyone
Mhm.
hears, right? Okay, well, we're seeing leads, but they're not converting. They're bad leads. It was always this question of bad leads, and I always knew that the leads weren't bad. It wasn't a question of good or bad leads. It was a question of what was your follow-up like, right? Um, so I would get on these calls and they're very uncomfortable conversations because you have to kind of tell them like, hey, it's not really the leads. It's actually you don't have a system. I did outline a system for them to follow, but they didn't follow it, right? Because they have a ton of stuff to do. Local businesses, they have a ton of things that they're working on in-house, right? So
Yeah.
the follow-up, like calling, seems like more of like just like a task that's like, oh, well, if I get to it, I'll get to it. But it's such a big bottleneck for their business. So I was running into that issue so much of just clients kind of grilling me, people leaving, honestly, churning because they weren't converting. So
Yeah.
that's when I
Yeah.
knew, like, I knew that I needed to have a system that did not only generate those leads, but properly convert those leads.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love that. And another thing about the agency space is everyone's always focused on the PIFs and closing new clients, but rarely anyone focuses on actually keeping their clients. If you can just keep your clients, that's the real source. That's how you make real money, not by just by keeping your, like, it's no extra work. You just keep doing what you've already done all the hard work.
Yeah.
just maintain like
Exactly.
what you've got to do, and they'll pay you every month. Like it's so much harder to keep finding new clients. It's horrible. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, it makes perfect sense, man. And so now you've been through course at the mastery, obviously you've implemented the system. What do you think the biggest impact has been on your agency?
I mean, first of all, it makes your service much stickier, right? Like you said, you just said it. Most of the hard work is getting someone to sign up, right?
Yep.
That's where most of the legwork needs to be done. Once you get them to sign up, can they stick around, right? This isn't it's improved my my churn, right? Like clients are not leaving as often. Um, it obviously it makes a huge value add even without testimonials. Just having the value add of saying, hey, we're going to call your leads within 5 minutes. We're going to follow up with them for 7 days. You're not going to have to do any of that. You're not going to have to respond to messages. You're not going to have to call them. You're just going to get booked appointments. Once we set this
Yeah.
up, you don't have to do anything. They're like, okay, great, let's do it. Let's sign up. So just having the value add um, is extremely beneficial. It makes you stand out for sure.
Yeah, I love that dual. Like, there's like a dual. It's like a two birds with one stone as well, because what ends up happening is that you end up saving your clients time because they don't have to do the follow up themselves. Like the whole stress is like saved, and you also get the better results because you're doing it for them. Because if they weren't going to do it in the first place, as you get this like benefit of like getting better results, but also like they just have more time. And so, honestly, dude, I've had some clients to go through it, and they're like, it's not even about the improvement in the results. It's just the fact that they can get their clients can get 10 hours a week back, 15 hours a week back.
Yeah,
And
just the
that
time.
alone is like a huge value add for like and so it's always kind of stuff that comes into it, which is yeah, which is super sweet. When have you had any clients since like well, in fact, let me ask you this. When you first introduced this service to your clients, they started going through it. What kind of feedback have you had from your clients on this stuff?
I mean, they were ecstatic just like when I brought it up to my current clients. I said, like, look, this is something that I'm going to add. And well, two things there. Not only was I improving the service, so they're seeing that I was committed to making the service better,
Yep, yep, yep.
right? So first thing there. Second thing, I could actually increase their ticket, right? Like their
Retainer.
retainer
Yep.
by a very small amount, but have such a huge impact, right? Like of the like you said, the time and the results. So they were looking at that, they were like, oh, dude, this is amazing. Like this is gonna be fantastic. So when I told my first couple of clients, they were like, oh yeah, sign me up. Like what is like I was gonna add what like 400 or 500 bucks to the retainer a month. So not only did I increase my lifetime value just by doing that, but they also saw that I was committed to to improving the service, which helped them like kind of stick with me in terms of like, the sort of little bugs that you have when you're implementing this type of
Yeah,
stuff, right?
of
Like
course, of course.
the little nicks and crannies that you need to figure out.
Yep.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I always
it's
tell
it's
my
good.
tell people going for a call center mastery as well. I always say to them when you first launch this, tell your clients that it's in beta because like you'd be stupid if you think that obviously I've laid everything out, but if you go through the program, there's going to be these little teething issues, little bugs and stuff. I'm
Yeah,
not going to deny that in any way, and so it comes down to just saying to your clients, look, like this, I've got this whole program that we've invested in. We're doing all this stuff. I need a couple of clients that I can put in beta that can go through this and make sure they're happy with it. Expect a few minor issues. And then when the issues come up, you just fix them, you find the problems, and you obviously get more and more experience with the call center stuff. And then obviously, come jump on my calls, ask me the questions if you need to, if you need help with any of it, right?
exactly.
And then bam, you're good to go. So yeah, yeah, I get it, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good.
And
And then
most people are very reasonable. So
yeah, of course. Yeah, like you said, most people are reasonable. Even when I built this program out, man, like I originally had like a big notepad or a notebook, a whiteboard, sorry, of like all my ideas of what I want to do for the program. And I reached out to people the same way. I reached out to some people, like some of my clients in TFU, team follow up, and was like, look, I'm building out something to teach you how to build it in-house. This is the stuff. I'm going to charge this much. Are you interested? And again, you set the expectation, people understand it, it's good to go. Yeah. And so
exactly.
what kind of worries or fears did you have? Because obviously, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, but with any kind of like agency coaching, right? Like I really want to avoid being like an agency guru or anything. There's so many out there that are just
Yeah.
like it's just kind of cringe. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess before investing in a program like this, like what kind of worries or fears did you have around everything?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I saw your ad, and the first thing I thought, like, oh, you're going to teach me how to implement the system. It's going to be extraordinarily expensive, right? Because I could just see the value of it. Like, I was like, this is going to be extremely expensive, and it's going to be really hard to set up, and it's going to take me a ton of time and effort. And all of those were wrong. It wasn't extremely expensive. It's actually very, very, very reasonable for what you're providing.
The price has gone
Um,
up a fair amount, by the way, now since you've
no,
since you joined,
still,
which is
but
great.
still, but still, but
Yeah,
still,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's it could go up like five,
It,
10,
honestly,
and
I
still,
speak to some people, like even that they pay the. Also, I won't say what the price is. But some people that that will join now, at the price it is, which is I think it's actually double what you pay to be honest with you. And people are still like they go through it and they're like, dude, you should be charging more. And I'm like,
yeah.
it's because the value it brings. Yeah, sorry, go on. You keep going. You keep going.
No, no, yeah, the value is tremendous. So that's why when I saw the ad, I was like, this is gonna be extremely expensive. Probably can't afford it right now, but I knew I
Yeah,
needed to do it. And the thing, I kept seeing your ad, and the thing that like got me to book a call was like, I'm gonna need to do this at some point, anyways. I knew that for myself. I was like, I need to do this anyways, so I might as well bite the bullet, hop on a call, and then yeah, I chatted with the boy Timmy, the
yeah,
goat, um, and um, and yeah, he told me he's like, nah, man, it's completely outlined. And then I hopped in. It was exactly that. Like it was outlined to a T and support calls every day for any little issues that you hop on, like hop on that support call and you pretty much figured it out. And the school community as well helps out
yeah.
a lot because there's people that have already gone through where you're going through, so like they understand and they'll hop in and chime in. And yeah, honestly, it was great, man. Like setting it up was a little bit stressful, not because of you, but just because I was like, oh my God, information overload so
So
much.
much. Yeah.
Um, but you made it, I'd say, as good as you could make it for the what you are providing, right? Because by the nature of it, there is a lot of information, but it's extremely outlined, extremely detailed, step by step, like
Nice.
really, 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 really outlined, man. So really, really good.
Yeah, I'm glad that you see that. It's and I get that feedback from quite a few people. I really try to make it as digestible as possible. You know, it's a lot of stuff to go through, and you don't want to be. It's a balance between getting making sure there's enough information so people don't make mistakes and things, but also you don't want to be just like having people watching like hours and hours and hours of video, right? You want to
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
that sweet spot you've got to do. Yeah. And then, what have been your favorite parts of the program? What's kind of stuff that stood out? You're like, oh, that was such a great thing, or yeah,
I think the like the reporting, it just gets me so like it gets me so happy. It gets me so happy. The reporting, you look at the automations that you put in, I'm like, dude, this is so sick. Because the I think the main thing with a lot of agencies is they de facto avoid the reporting because they don't want to look at it,
yeah,
right? Like those numbers can be kind of shocking. And they can be either like they can really hurt your ego, I feel like,
yep,
because you don't want to change it. But the only if you're committed to providing the best service and improving, you need to look at those numbers, right? It's like um you can't improve it. You can't improve without it. So that entire reporting section is absolutely goated. It's really, really cool the way that you have it all set up with the Google Looker Studio and then the
yep,
sheets and everything's just super detailed. So
yeah,
I'd say
man.
that part gets me like super excited. Just looking at it, like it's so sick.
I'm the same. That bit is probably the bit I spend the most time on in terms of updates and things like that. Because I like to keep making it better. Um, but yeah, like the reporting for me is like once people, a lot of people they'll go for like the system section and they'll message me like, dude, this is so good, thanks so much, blah blah blah. And then I'll be like, I'm like, yeah, awesome, man. Have you been through the reporting yet? They're like, no, not yet. And I'm like, I'm like waiting to get through the reporting. Like that's I know the good stuff's in there. Yeah,
That's
I
the
it took me
creme de la-
ages to learn. It took me so long to learn all this stuff, but I'm just so happy when people see the value and they just like build it out. It's like, oh, dude, I love it. Yeah,
Dude,
it's
I can only I look at the reporting and I'm like, I was thinking, I was like making my bed the other day, like weird story. I was making my bed the other day and I was thinking, I was like, how did Aaron build this shit? Like, excuse my language. I was like, how
you're
did
good.
he build this reporting? Like, how did he learn all of this stuff? It was just so like I was literally just thinking about it randomly because it's so like so good. It's just good.
It's just
It's just
so
good.
it's so it's a lot of honestly, dude, it was just so much trial and error. Like a lot of it was like working with Jim Try, and they were like, "Hey, we want some better reporting." And I was like, "All right, cool. Like, let me figure this out for us." And I just spend like hours every day just like playing around with this, playing around with that, then researching this, and then someone would tell me about some other thing. I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And it's just like a year, literally just years of that. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like one day I just thought of it. Like it's it's
No,
been
I get it. That's that's why I was thinking about it. I was like, dude, imagine I can't only imagine how long this must have taken
to
to
figure out.
come to fruition. All right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been a fun ride for sure. And then so the final question, what would you say to other people that are potentially on the fence? Maybe they're thinking of booking a call, that kind of stuff. Like if they've got an agency, what would you say to people?
If you have an agency that you work with local businesses, I think it's absolute must have. Absolute must have. If you're committed, if you're saying to yourself, I want to be the best in my space, I don't think you can be the best in your space without this piece. The speed to lead, the follow up, the time that you save for your clients, the results that you'll get, the reporting that you'll have, all of these things culminate into something that will drastically improve your service. And if you don't implement it, your competitors will, and then you'll be
Yes.
left behind. So,
Yes, I love that. I love that. That is such a key thing as well because the market is moving so much to the call centers now. And if you're an agency owner and you think you can get away with just doing lead, like it's just insane when people think they can do that now. And it's honestly like it's gonna weed out the people that aren't willing to commit. Like it's kind of like drop shipping. You know how like drop shipping was like it's easy to kind of set up and do and blah blah blah. Like that's what the lead gen is kind of moving into that now. It's like, oh yeah, anyone can just set up a drop shipping website and
yeah,
you can do lead gen, right? Like just a simple thing. But if you actually got the call center and all that, that's the bit that's like, oh, you're actually creating a real business now. You're actually, do you know what I mean? So,
I would say the call center like made me even feel like I was running a real business, right? Because
oh
like
really? That's good to know.
just yeah, the operation of like, oh, I have to set this up, like, you know, I have to commit to this, right? And not only that, I think a lot of people they underestimate also. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is just my impression, but um, when you add the call center, you also can add the call center to your business. So when you
Yeah.
set up your own ads, when you set up like everything, you're gonna have that conversion mechanism for your own business. So you're gonna be able to book more appointments for yourself and for your clients.
Yeah.
So
It's a good
it's
point.
literally like it's a win-win. It makes no
Yeah.
sense to not do it. And then once you set it up, for any business that you run in the future, this is like a conversion. This is like just a goaded conversion mechanism, right? For whatever type of business that you set up. Now you know how to do it, right? So
Yeah,
I think it's
man.
absolutely must have for sure.
Yeah. Dude, Lucas, you've been and you, Bowie, you've been amazing to work with as well, man. You've implemented. Honestly, you're one of them guys that just kind of sits in the background and just like gets through it. You joined a few calls, obviously you got a little bit of help, but you've done a really good job of just navigating this on your own and getting it done. So fair play to you, man, for actually committing and doing this, man. It's like, yeah, good. It's awesome. I
Thank
love it.
you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I love
yeah,
the
all good.
program. I love it. I'll always be a call center mastery shill,
Advocate.
I guess you could call it. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, look, man, thank you so much again, Lucas. Obviously, keep crushing it, and I'll speak to you again soon.
All right, bro. Cheers.